Some of the terminologies may be new.
Hello.
Okay, there might be like lot of technical terms like competency, curricular goals, assessment, formative, summative. Okay, effective pedagogy, values, disposition, capacities. Okay, so just understand that using it as a teacher, but maybe we are going to acknowledge it more effectively in our classroom, and we are going to kind of revisit it, giving it more importance than what we were doing till now. Okay? So the vocabulary, some of it may be new, but it is not like something which is totally different from what you have been practicing. Maybe a little bit of, as I said, improvisation in the approach which we are using in the classroom. Maybe what we are going to discuss. What should be the difference in approach? It is not, the content remains the same, right? Maybe what we are trying to give a transformation or trying for a shift is in our whole approach in the teaching learning process. Since the group is science teachers, and using the word teaching learning process in science. Okay? So when we are discussing the technical terms, you can repeatedly ask. Okay, no issue with that. And it is not going to be a lecture kind of a session because it will be very boring. We have to make it interactive as much as possible. So I can ask questions, but I don't guarantee that I will answer for each and every question you shoot. But maybe we can collaboratively or combinedly find the answer for it. Okay? So we are a team now for this 2 days, not for 2 days. We are a team from here on. Okay? Working towards a great cause. Right? So, have you gone through the lesson plan? At least one. The Premji. And also anybody, if you have any issue with the language, okay, if you are finding it difficult to follow my language, then also you can raise your hands. I think our SRPs are here. They will translate it. I'm sorry, I don't know Telugu. Okay, I'm from Kerala. Okay, so if you are finding it difficult to follow my language, also you can just raise hand, and SRPs will help us with the translation. Okay, that also you can do when and there. Yeah. Through the lesson plan? Yes, some of you have. Okay. So, what is it that, do you find any difference in the lesson plan from what you were used to all these years? Have you seen some new components or maybe new, elements being addressed in the lesson plan? Have you find any novelty in the approach in the lesson plan? Of course, the tissues, the magnetism and the chemical reactions, everything will be the same. But do you see any difference when you are going, not in terms of content, but in the whole
video, we can understand how else we can say that.
Okay, so it is kind of supplementing.
We only prepare that question how to interact with the students.
Okay.
In this lesson plan, some questions, some ideas are there.
Okay, so ma'am is saying that previously when you are introducing the activities.
Some few ideas, how this type of questions we ask to students to introduce that concept.
You get some new ideas.
Yes.
Good. What else? Involving the children. So more scope.
With regards to the content.
Okay, great. So more scope to involve the children in teaching learning process. Great observation. Okay. So previously you think about assessment at the end of the lesson, but it is now simultaneously addressed during the process. Okay.
Of learning.
Okay. Thank you.
Like not directly explaining in one-way communication. So we have posed the questions so that the teacher will act as a facilitator.
So there is some space
For the teacher to
to
act as a facilitator by asking the questions.
Okay, great.
By eliciting the answers from the students.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Stating some activities and stating the answers from the students. So this is space for the teacher to act as a facilitator.
Good. Good.
How we can assess the student also. It is mentioned in detailed manner
Okay.
rather than normal comparative lessons. Earlier lessons comparative them. So here the assessment it is how we can assess the student clearly for each learning outcome. It is mentioned clearly, specific.
Okay. So scope for formative.
Lesson plan. We have taken a complete lesson in one plan. But now that lesson is split into periods. According to the periods, we preparing the period plans.
Okay. So in the structure you have one chapter.
Some of the students also understand very well this lesson plan. So it is useful for the bottom of the students also.
So when we were learners in the classroom, right? So different strategies, we tried to incorporate different strategies which is different from the conventional lecture method. At least one or two strategies through different period plans. Yes, so different types and learners with different needs can be, there is an attempt to address them all. Yes, sir. Student led.
Students centered.
Good.
So teacher centered already prepared in the last year, but it is directly we focused on the student centered lesson plan.
Okay.
Whenever we given the student, he did identify that he didn't understand that what is the basics of we can understand.
So analysis. What is teacher-led activity? Something which is being led. It is led by the teachers, right? Second is that teacher-guided activity. Means students are equally involved along with the teachers for learning something. Then there should be scope for student-led activities where the students take the initiative for teaching learning process. See, all these elements which we are discussing here may not be addressed in every period plans and every lesson plans. I am sure it is not getting addressed in every period plans and every chapter lesson plan. But maybe you can find the example for aided conversation. Children and teacher collaboratively do and discuss the questions. Okay? This demonstration for some reason can be a teacher-led process. Okay, so how you bring in these three elements in the teaching learning process is important. Okay, anything else? What are the elements of the lesson plan? What all components are included? One element came out which is learning outcome. Learning outcome is there. There is space for learning outcome. Then sir was talking about assessment, which is carried along with the learning process. What else is there in the lesson plan? Pedagogic part, different strategies which can be used for a concept. What else is there? Learn to see anything in front of, and it is derived from the vision of society in alignment with the constitution. In a way, it kind of subsumes all the points which you have shared. Okay? Rational thought and autonomy. That critical thinking, capability to make decisions, capability to respond to a certain situation. Everything comes from rational thought and autonomy. Most importantly, whether every individual is an independent thinker, right? We say that the right or wrong varies with individual and with the context, right? So that decision making, that autonomy is really important. Most importantly, rational thought. What is rational thinking? Different diversity, balancing thought, based on a logic or a strong evidence, right? So how my thought is governed by the right evidence or right reasons or right logic, okay? Right in the sense that also depends upon an individual's perception. right? Perspective. So that is really, really important. The thought, rational thought and autonomy. Now, is this important? Health and well-being. Why health and well-being is important and it is included in the aims of education? If you have a healthy body, okay, suppose that I am standing here, and I am very happy and pleasant, okay, but I am very depressed internally. I am having severe emotional issues, severe mental health issues emotionally. Can I give my best? No, right? To deliver my best, I have to be present here, not just physically, but my mind should be active, my mind should be healthy, right? So, importance of health and well-being to develop knowledge, capacities, values and dispositions of every subject. Every subject, this health and well-being is really, really important. Democratic and community participation. Should we participate in democratic decision making? Should we participate in the community? Should we contribute? So that is also important. Again, the knowledge, capacity, values and disposition. We will see what it is. That acquiring that relevant knowledge, values, capacities and dispositions of certain of our curricular area helps in democracy and community participation. Economic participation we have already discussed. It is important, right? Economic contribution is important. How is a contribution of a per capita income by an individual? How it is supporting the society? That is crucial for the development of the society. Cultural participation, right? Preserving the culture. What we take wherever we are, in what corner of the world we are, the cultural participation, how you kind of carry that culture in a positive way, right? Add on to that culture, you build to that culture, construct that positively is really, really important. So, lot of thought has been put to these, coining these 5 statements and adopting it as aim of education, which is derived from the vision of the society and inspired from Constitution. So ultimately, when we talk about learning standards is designed in such a way that these aims are being met. Okay, so there is a purpose for designing learning standard without compromising the knowledge, capacities, values and dispositions acquired through a subject. So we are going to talk about how through science we are going to arrive at this milestone. Okay? Oh. Now I am going back to the first diagram. So we have covered till here aims of school education, and aims of school education is defined for how many years? 15 years of schooling, right? 15 years of schooling. But what about your textbook? Is it designed for the entire 15 years? It stands for how many years? 1 year, right? So you have aims to be achieved by 15 years of schooling. The lesson plans you have in your hand, right? The hard copy of the lesson plans you have in your hand. It is for 1 grade, right? It is for a particular grade. Now, how will you reach from here to here? And you cannot skip your subject. You may feel that seeing this statement, this is mostly aligned to the social science curriculum. No. You have science, physics, chemistry and biology. In that vehicle, how you are going to reach here? That is really, really important. For instance, you consider this aim as a big mountain you have to climb. Okay? You are at the base. What will you do to climb a mountain? Step. Next. Altitude. Okay. First, ma'am is like trying first each altitude. And just so to make my journey little more easier, you have been given this broad step. Okay? You have 15 years of schooling to reach this aims. Okay? But this high jump is little impossible. Right? So you should define your short-term goals. Right? Short-term goals. For short period of time. That is why this entire 15 years, it is getting divided into stages. Right? So you have first 5 years, then you have preparatory, middle and secondary. So that is figured out. But you should have certain short-term goals also. For example, when my child completes the foundational stage, I should acquire this goal. I should focus on this goal. This is what I am expecting from my child when he or she completes the first 5 years of schooling. Okay? But also, you cannot forget your subject. Your subject, there is a specific purpose of teaching your subject. Why should a child learn science? Why should you teach science? 1%. Ma'am was saying problem solving. Yes, ma'am was saying
Connect to real life, everyday life.
connect to everyday life. Yes. Scientific approach.
Knowing surroundings.
Knowing surroundings. So connecting surroundings. Okay. So scientific approach. Problem solving. Connecting with surroundings. Then
Universal language. Science is a universal language.
science is a universal language. So explaining the physical phenomena which you see around you, physical and natural phenomena which you see around you. Okay.
Real life situations between goal and aim.
What is the?
Difference between goal and aim.
You are asking me here. What is the difference between aim and the goal? I will come back. I'll come to that first. Okay. I will come to that first.
Real life situations.
Okay. So, do you think that there is any difference between science and maths? Is there any difference between science and maths? Is there any difference between science and language? Is there any difference between science and social science? What is that difference?
Way of understanding, way of implementing is real life situation.
Understanding?
And implementing in real life situation. Science, social, art, what we are learning, we are implementing in different forms.
Different forms. What is the difference? For example, social science and science. What is the difference?
Science is mostly by doing.
Experiments. We have social experiments in social. No? Geography?
Observing.
History? No experiments?
Only in science.
To know the cause behind it.
To know the cause. Okay. Social science is also built on evidence-based thinking.
Absolutely.
Sir?
Science is more concrete, man.
More concrete.
It's more concrete, it's evident, it's in front of our eyes, we can do it, experiment all the process, all the way we can verify and check out immediately.
There are concepts in science which we cannot verify experimentally. Okay, the whole big branch of statistical and quantum physics, which may all of it may not, we cannot verify it, need not verify it experimentally also. Right? So all of science, we cannot call it that concrete. There are certain concepts beyond that as well. See, all these four disciplines which I took as example, for example, language. Okay, what is it focusing on? There are certain skills and competencies which we acquire through language education. Communication skills, oracy, vocabulary, comprehension, right? For mathematics also there is something called, I know maths people are not here, there is something called mathematical intuition. For example, when we are continuously doing problems, okay, by seeing a problem, maybe you will get an idea about how to go about that problem. What is the particular thing that can be applied to that problem? That is something specific to mathematics. So social science, you have an explicit connection to society in many ways, which is different from science. We say that there is impact of science and technology on the society, but in social science we also deal with other dimensions in a more explicit way in social science. So there is a certain difference in certain skills for acquiring the skills which are acquired by learning these subjects. Depending upon that, each of aims of these subjects also vary from each other. Some of them may be overlapping and they are connected also. Okay? But there are certain unique characteristics and features which is particular for each subject. For example, there is an aim. There are certain aims why we are teaching science to children. Why we have different textbooks for science and social science. Why there is a difference in approach while writing a chapter of science and while writing a chapter of social science. Okay? The evidence-based thinking in social science is different from the scientific, slightly different from the scientific inquiry in science, but definitely there are overlaps. Okay? So there are certain aims for teaching every subject. Can you just tell me what could be this, to which subject is this aim connected to? Why you say that science? Why you say that these statements are connected to science? Why you just now you told that it is science, right? Why do you think that these statements can be considered as aim of teaching science? Why?
And these are the activities.
Understanding of relationship between science, technology and society. Okay, it is very unique to science, development of science. Scientific understanding of natural and physical world is again creative capacity, multilingual capacities, appreciation and engagement in culture, which is again applicable to other curricular areas. But these oracy and literacy, right, it is something very exclusive and very much specific to language. So, these are the curricular aims of language. Why we are teaching language for this school from preschool till senior secondary. Okay? What is this for? Basic numeracy, which is different from science. We deal it in maths. Mathematical thinking. Problem solving, definitely it will come in social science and science also. Mathematical intuition, when you see a problem, whether a child is able to track that path through which I can tackle this problem. So certain, that comes out with experience. At the same time, mathematical thinking is related to conceptualizing the problems. My joy, curiosity and wonder is just in maths and not in other curricular areas. Why? But they have just in NCF. This is specifically written just for maths. Why?
Once a problem is solved,
I'm saying that once you solve a problem, it gives you joy. Do you have any idea why this is just written for maths? Why it is not written for science or social science or language? It reflects science also, I agree. So I agree that for every curricular area there should be joy, curiosity and wonder. But why it is emphasized for maths? Why it is written as aim of maths? How many of you love mathematics? How many of you love mathematics? How many of you were afraid of mathematics in school? This is the reason why. This is specifically mentioned for maths. Fear of mathematics is there from the students since mostly from preparatory stage, because foundational stage the approach is such that they enjoy maths because they are not not working out those problems without knowing what they are doing, because they are learning maths through games, activities, mostly, if the approach is that. But once you get into higher stages, you are doing maths because you want to do maths, right? Without connecting it to the real life. So the child who is not able to connect it with the real life context, naturally that fear. And I know that for most of us, maths teacher is he or she is not an angel, at least for some of us. It's a figure that we always remember with fear. Homework, have you done work? I have got beaten from my maths teacher for not doing the homework. Okay, so this cross-line book is something, it's not always about good memories. And that is very much for all. Of course, there are students who in other subjects also difficult. But fear of mathematics is something which is very popular. And whenever I go to a workshop, especially with teachers, my first question will be whoever love maths, majority of them hate maths, and the reason they are saying is we were never able to connect those problems with the real life. We were not able to conceptualize those problems. So that is why this is listed as an important curricular aim of teaching mathematics. Children should enjoy learning maths. Our approach should be in such a way. So if you see for all these 4 sets, yeah, what about this? Why do you think it is for social science? Society functions, capacity for inquiry in social science, which is slightly different from scientific inquiry, but it is connected, responsible human beings and contributing citizens. Okay, which is applicable to other curricular area also. But we learn about our constitution and our system, society system, mostly through social science. Other subjects directly does not deal with it, right? So each of these subjects has its own characteristics, its own nature, and there are certain skills which is attained by learning these subjects. Okay, so for aims of school education, you have different subjects with their curricular aims. Different curricular aim for science, maths, social science, language, arts, physical education, etc. Okay, so you have your own respective curricular aim, and it is defined for entire schooling. Whenever we are teaching science, our larger aim is acquiring those skills or scientific inquiry, scientific temper. Will it change with class? Understanding physical and natural world, will it change with class? When we are talking about the colors of flower, when we are talking about the Stevens crystal, we are actually understanding the natural and physical world around us. So this aim of science is not going to change. It is same throughout the schooling. Okay? So aims of education is further brought down or can be kind of aligning with the curricular aims. Because for rational autonomy and thinking, you need scientific inquiry. personal thought and autonomy. Do you agree? Scientific temper is essential for community participation, democracy, right? So it is not different. Eventually, all these curricular aims will arrive at aims of education. So we have already branched into our respective curricular areas. Okay. Now, as ma'am asked me a question, what is the difference between goal and aim? Okay. So to reach this larger goal, which we call as the aim of education, we have broader steps cut for us, which are the stages, right? So at each of these stages, we should have some goals to achieve. For each of the stage, we should have some goals to achieve. So such goals are defined as curricular goals. So curricular goals are defined for each stage. For example, a child for the entire foundational stage, we will have a set of curricular goals. Okay? I will take the example of science. When does we start teaching science? At which class we start teaching science? As science and social science, when does the separation start? Preparatory stage, we have environmental science before science, which we start teaching at middle stage, which are classes 6, 7 and 8. Right? So, for 6, 7 and 8, for the entire middle stage, we have defined certain goals, which remains the same across 6, 7 and 8. Next set of goals are defined for 9, 10, 11, 12. And these curricular goals of science are different from curricular goals of social science because the curricular aims of each subject is different. Okay? So we have aims of education, we have curricular aims of education. Now, 1 p.m. Okay? So I have 2 hours. Assume that by walking a person takes 2 hours. Suppose, imagine. Okay? Imagine that from here to reach Ben Circle, though it is 2 kilometers, somebody will take 2 hours. Okay? I just have 2 hours. After reaching Ben Circle, I have some important meeting to happen. So my goal is to reach Ben Circle by 3 p.m. and I am going to start from here by 1 p.m. How will I ensure that I am going to reach Ben Circle by 3 p.m.? How will you ensure? How will you make sure that I am going to reach Ben Circle by 3 p.m. if I start at 1 p.m.? What all homework will you do? Place? Pace, speed of walking. So ma'am is saying that I have to have a sense about the speed of walking. Okay? Suggest me some speed with which I have to walk. Tell me a random speed, some velocity, some value. 1 kilometer per hour. 1 kilometer in 10 minutes. Okay. So ma'am is suggesting 1 kilometer in 10 minutes. Okay. So I have to ensure that, okay, first thing I have to ensure is I have to take a speed of 1 kilometer per 10 minutes. Okay. You can convert it into kilometer per hour or meter per second. Okay. So first thing I have to make sure is my speed is 1 kilometer in 10. I cover 1 kilometer in 10 minutes. That is my speed. What is the second thing which and the direction at every step? Can I measure my speed of walking? Can I measure my speed of walking? It is a measurable quantity. I can observe it, right? Can I measure my direction? Can I observe whether I am going in the right direction? So I have a goal set which is reaching Penn Circle at 3 p.m. Okay, I have a goal set. Nobody is telling you how to reach that goal. You just have a goal. The means by which you reach that goal is left to you. It is kind of abstract. Okay, but how you make it more concrete? You have two variables which decide whether I am going to reach that goal. These two variables are observable and measurable. Right? First variable is my speed, second variable is my direction. Similarly, curricular goals are milestones given to you which are abstract. Okay? What will determine whether you are going in the right direction or whether you are able to achieve that goal? There should be something observable and measurable. Competencies. Competencies are those observable and measurable parameters. Curricular goals are defined stage-wise. So competencies are also defined stage-wise. But the difference between curricular goal and competency is curricular goal is little bit abstract. These are the aims or the small milestones which you have to achieve. But competencies are observable and measurable. So for science, aims of the subject, from aims you have defined curricular goals which are stage-wise. For middle stage you have set of curricular goals. For secondary stage you have set of curricular goals. Also you have competencies which is again defined stage-wise. But one is abstract, other is observable or measurable. Got the difference? So you can see that it is difficult to measure. But competencies you can assess. That is the right word. You can assess. We will see examples and it will be clear. So this much that collection is clear to all of you. All of you. Aims of education, curricular aims of subject, which is defined for the entire schooling. Then curricular goals defined for a particular stage. Then the competencies again defined for a particular stage of schooling. So 6, 7 and 8 will have same set of competencies. 9, 10, 11 and 12 will have same set of competencies and curricular goals. Difference between competency and curricular goals, one is abstract, other is measurable or can be assessed. Clear? Clear? Now, one more, I will finish this and then we will take for maybe 10, 15, 1:30. Fine, then we will finish that in their map and then we will go. And competencies defined for stage-wise. How will that help for your lesson plan? Because you have to prepare your timetable, your lesson plan, your textbook, your exams, everything is defined for particular class. So, aims of education, okay? And you have different subjects. Curricular aims of subjects. Aims of education is defined, further broken down into curricular goals. So, to understand whether we are going in the right direction, to measure our achievement, we have competencies which are observable. Okay? So, it can be assessed. It is also defined stage-wise. Now, how will you connect this to your lesson plans? You need a bridge. This is defined stage-wise. Lesson plans are for each grade. Class 10. Competencies, for example, for secondary stage is for the entire 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. But us, we are designing lesson plan for class 10 at a time. We are conducting exams for just class 10. But what will help teacher?
creating learning experiences.
SRBs.
Learning experiences.
Learning outcomes.
SRBs shouldn't talk. I told that was our rule. I am asking about ERPs. You have your lesson plan, okay? You have your competencies which is defined for the entire stage. But lesson plan is for just class 10. So how will you connect competencies to lesson plan? Of course, teacher will help. But what will help teacher?
Teaching learning materials.
Teaching learning materials are also for a grade. The problem you have got, competencies, our aim of teaching a subject is achieving certain set of competencies for a particular stage. Then only we will be able to move up. Okay? To achieve those competencies, they are defined for an entire stage. Stage means for the 4 years of 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, you have 4 years to achieve a competency. Competencies and curricular goals defined for a stage means for a secondary stage you have entire 4 years. No, nobody says that you should achieve because competency take time to achieve. Okay, you cannot achieve a competency in a single class or a single grade. But there are students who may achieve certain competency in 1 year. Some students may achieve it in 2 years. But there is no hard and fast rule that this competency should be achieved in class 6. Instead, the student can take its or her own time of 4 years to achieve a competency of grade 10. Such competencies are defined in such a way that it takes time to acquire certain skills and capacities. Okay? So you have the entire 4 years to achieve a competency of a secondary stage. But you are not planning lesson for 4 years, are you? You are planning lesson for just that particular class, right? So what will help us to achieve that competency or to reach that competency for a teacher? So, ma'am was saying about some broad step, okay? Was talking about some broad step to climb a mountain. We have already cut that broad step, which are curricular goals and competencies, okay? Now, for a particular stage, this is our aim. Okay? To reach here, what should we do? If a step is too broad, okay? See, why should you have comfort and you can avoid falling down, right? And it is giving you specific direction. Specific direction, I have to walk like this, then 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. Right? Same thing. So for competencies and curricular goals also, that step is little broad because it is defined for 4 years for secondary stage. So we teachers have to cut small steps. Definitely teacher will
Reading what experience to add.
Okay, when we are reading book, what are we keeping in mind? Ma'am already told that, yes. So, I just need, I got answer from this row, but I need answer from the back end also. Okay? So, I need answer from you all. What are those small steps which teacher can decide?
Create interest. Create interest.
Create interest, that is part of our pedagogy, yes. But technically some step like competency should help you. Previous knowledge, okay? So when you are designing a lesson plan, for example, tell me an example of a concept on which you are designing a lesson plan.
Learning objectives.
Learning objectives, now learning outcomes. Right, learning objectives and outcomes are slightly different. I will explain the difference. Learning outcomes will help you to cut those steps. Okay, because when you are designing the lesson plan, the first thing, for example, you need not teach everything and anything around issues to the children. Should you teach? No. What is appropriate for that grade? Okay? Should the child do a practical activity in class 6 or she should do that experiment in class 10? What will decide? Age appropriateness, right? Age appropriateness, and the learning outcomes will help you in each grade to decide your pedagogy and assessment, which should go in alignment with the learning outcome. So in the lesson plans, when you are going through the lesson plan, assessment. This we call as constructive alignment. Pedagogy and assessment should go in hand, both of which should align with the learning outcome. Okay? And learning outcomes are defined for a particular class. Okay? So these steps are actually learning outcomes. So each competency can be divided into many learning outcomes. Okay? So one competency can be divided into multiple learning outcomes class-wise. So one competency of secondary stage can be divided into many learning outcomes of class 10. Similarly, same competency can be divided into many learning outcomes of class 9. Similarly, same competency can be divided into many learning outcomes of class 11. Same competency can be divided into many learning outcomes of class 12. So competency defined for the 4 years or a particular stage into learning outcomes. And as per the new policy and new document, the teachers have the power to articulate learning outcome. The document shares learning standards with certain level of precision till competency. In the learning standard, when we see example, you can see that it has defined aims, which is same for entire schooling, which is followed by every subject. Curricular aims are defined for each subject. Curricular goals are defined for each subject. Competencies are defined for each subject. But learning outcomes, teachers have the power to articulate the learning outcomes as per the needs of the learners, pace of the learners, context of the learners. Okay? So maybe one learning outcome which you pick may have to be divided into two different learning outcomes. For example, say analysis of a section of a flower. That may be further divided into the child able to explain the parts of the flower and then maybe analysis of the flower. Okay? So the teachers have the autonomy to articulate learning outcome, but we are also expecting a document with certain illustrative learning outcomes being listed by NCERT, which will help the teachers or guide the teachers in understanding the structure and design of learning outcome. Because learning outcome, to design and articulate learning outcome according to the need is not easy. There is a certain structure, right? There is an action verb which actually indicates a cognition happening. For that, when you address that learning outcome, that action verb also informs about the pedagogy. That action verb also informs about the assessment. Okay, so there is a certain structure and approach in designing learning outcome. But teachers, depending on the context of the learners, needs of the learners, you have the autonomy to design or articulate learning outcome, provided you stick on to the structure and essence of the learning outcome. Okay, so our flowchart completes like this: aims of education, which is further broken down into curricular aims of different subject areas, which is further divided into curricular goals of science, because this is the science audience. Then it is not measurable, so we have competencies which will help us in observing those goals or assessing those whether we are reaching those goals. Then the competencies which are defined stage-wise is further broken down into multiple learning outcomes of grade, each for each grade. So learning outcomes are grade-wise. Are we able to assess learning outcome? Yes. Learning outcomes are observable and we can assess the learning outcomes grade-wise. Then grade-wise, so competencies which are defined stage-wise, it is made more granular and grade-wise when you talk about learning outcomes. So this is the flow, okay, of the learning standard. We will see the example, but is this flow clear? From aims to learning outcome. When I asked about the step, actually Sandhya ma'am answered first, okay? But I wanted answer from the back, so that's it. So this flow is clear to all of us? All of us? Should I repeat any step? Any step? So what we discussed is aims of education, 5 aims of education. It is defined for 15 years of schooling, okay? And we have our respective curricular areas to achieve those aims, okay? So for each curricular area, we have aims defined again for the entire schooling. Then it is further broken down into curricular goals. Curricular goals are defined for stage. Right? Curricular goals are defined for an entire stage. What do we mean by stage? Middle stage, secondary stage, foundational stage, preparatory stage. So, for example, foundational stage consists of 5 years. Curricular goals of foundational stage is for entire 5 years. Secondary stage consists of 4 years. Curricular goals of secondary stage is for entire 4 years. Curricular goals are further broken down into competency. Competencies are defined stage-wise. Stage-wise. What is the difference between curricular goals and competencies? Which is abstract? Goals are abstract. What about competency? Basically, competencies can be assessed. They are measurable. Then, competencies are further divided into learning outcome. Learning outcomes are defined for grade-wise. For class 9, you have set of learning outcome. Class 10, you have set of learning outcome. One more thing, one curricular goal. For example, when I gave the example of the direction, right? For one goal, I had 2 parameters which was measurable and observable. Similarly, curricular goal can be divided into multiple competencies. Okay, one curricular goal may be divided into multiple competencies. Sometimes one curricular goal just may have one competency. Okay, we'll see example. So I hope this interconnection is clear. This interconnection is what you will observe before each chapter. Okay, so now if you go back to that chapter, not now, but when you get into the lesson plan, I think you will get a better understanding what does that statement means, what does the curricular goal means, why we have written multiple statements there. Okay? Again, if you have any doubt, you can get back to me then. Okay, now we will move on to exam. Do we have time? So we will see examples now. Okay. In a more broad manner. Okay. For example, aims of education. Each subject will have a curricular aim, which is a subject objective. Okay. Then At each stage, that means at each level you will have an objective which is regular goal. Then observable. What is observable is competency, which will determine the efficiency with which we are approaching the goal. Then the outcome. Don't click photograph. This is not important. What is important is the next slide. This is important. Okay? So, vision of the society, constitution, aims of school education. What is this desirable knowledge, capacities, values and disposition? It is acquired through each subject. Divided into, see, curricular areas because we have different curricular areas which we teach. So, right? Curricular aims, the next level is curricular goals, the small milestones which we have. Again, it is further divided into competencies. Competencies are further divided into this we have already discussed. Okay. Okay. Now tell me the difference between these two statements, or is there any difference, or are they same?
Yes, there is.
There is difference. Response that there is a difference in these two statements. How many of you agree that there is a difference? Most of you agree that there is a difference. Others don't agree? Is there a difference? Yes? I will consider those of who haven't raised the hand as no. Yes? Still I need. What about this row? Yes? Yes? What about this side? Yes? There is a difference? So now tell me what is the difference?
Practice is more specific than the activities which are like more specific.
Okay. What about others? What is the difference? See, I don't think that for all science teachers can answer this. It is nothing like biology teachers can't answer or just chemistry teachers can answer. We are science teachers, we can find out the difference at this level. Right? Right? All of you are able to see some difference. You told yes, so just share what is the difference. Or we are going to get late for lunch. Broad sense. Okay, I got the answer from these two sides. Specific. Any other observation?
That we can demonstrate. This is difficult to demonstrate.
Difficult to?
Demonstrate.
Which one?
At atomic level.
Difficult to demonstrate. Okay.
Minute level of understanding.
Minute level of understanding. Okay. General matter. Specific. Yes. Okay. What else? Second one, huh? There is some reaction. Properties at atomic level. Okay. More concrete.
The two concepts are divided according to level of understanding.
Level of understanding. What is the level of understanding?
The first one is we learn in 9th class.
Huh?
And the second slide, which is given at atomic level, we study at +1 or +2.
But atomic model we don't study in 9th.
Atomic model, just we say what is what.
Okay. So, okay. So one difference, as you all told, I would see this one is, it talks about explores the world of matter and its constituents, properties and behavior. Right? Here it says that explores the world of matter, its interaction. Okay, so one is just constituent, okay, constituent. Here interaction is there and properties at the atomic level. Do you think this is much more simpler statement and this is little complex?
That is complex.
This is complex. Why do you think that this is complex? Explores the world of matter and its constituents, properties and behavior. So what all comes under this?
Madam, matter is made up of either solids, liquids or gases.
Yeah.
That is the first slide. And in the second slide, we explain the solid is made up of atoms.
So here we talk about world of matter and its constituent. Okay, we could talk about the forces. Electron, protons and neutrons, and also we might start to discuss about the Van der I told this level of complexity is that the child is expected just to learn about the constituents of matter, its properties and how a solid, a liquid or a gas behaves. Okay? Here, it is little more deeper. In terms of constituent we discussed, but the interaction between these atoms. So, and one thing is, did you notice that first word explores? That word is really important. Explores the world of matter. Second also, in second statement also same word is used. Explores the world of matter. What is the extent of exploration? How far the child is expected to explore?
Based on their stage.
Based on their stage.
Invention it will be.
And new inventions.
Okay. So, I will take you to the next example. Just keep this word in mind and then we will come back to this slide. Keep the word explore. Ma'am, you were saying something? The same statement which we saw in the previous slide as an example of curricular goal. This curricular goal is broken down further into competency, but this is just one competency. Okay, this curricular goals can be actually divided into multiple competency. If you look into the curriculum standard, since there is for convenience of representing it as a flow chart, I have just used one competency. Okay, this is divided into multiple competency, which we will see in the subject specific session. Now I want you to observe the difference between these two statements. One is curricular goal and one is competency. What is the difference between the word explore and classifies? Achieved by just one learning outcome. Okay? This is, I think, differentiates between solid, liquid. I think it is for class 6. Right? So this is just one competency of class 6. You need such many, not competency, many such learning outcome from class 6, class 7 and class 8 to completely fulfill this competency. Okay? This is again I am seeing just a graphical organization to just show you the flow down. So please focus on these two dabbas. Show you one biology and one physics example in the afternoon session. Okay, not one, maybe multiple. This is just for you to understand the difference, and we don't have time to discuss all the examples now. In the afternoon, when we come back, we will definitely discuss one biology and physics. But I think this difference you can figure out whether you are teaching biology or chemistry, physics or chemistry. Hard separation between physics, chemistry and biology at this stage. So this difference you can figure out. Now tell me the difference between these two statements. Yeah, the verb classifies. How it is different from the verb explores. Okay, classifies means differentiate. How it is different from explore? Measuring? Understanding? Okay.
He has to have a comprehensive understanding.
Okay. Okay, I agree. Any other points?
Exploration is a broader.
Solid is also exploration of matter. The child able to diagrammatically represent gas. That is also a exploration of matter. Do you agree? So, curricular goal says that the child should explore the world of matter and its properties, which is an abstract. It does not say what is the extent of exploration which is expected out of the child. But competency clearly says that by end of middle stage, the child should be able to classify matter, solid, liquid and gas based on physical and chemical characteristics. That is one way of exploration. Right? The competency can also be like the child able to demonstrate some experiment which illustrates the properties or observable behavior of, say, chemical properties of gas. That can be one competency. Okay? So, this does not give you a concrete sense of what is the extent or what is the direction of exploration expected out of the child, but child should be able to is exploring matter, right? But here competency clearly defines what is expected out of the child. One of the competency is classification. The child is able to classify. You give them a group of materials or collection of solid, liquid and gas. Based on the physical properties, based on the color, based on the smell, based on the shape it takes, is the child able to differentiate between solid, liquid and gas. That is one competency which is expected out of the child who passes class 8. Class 8, this competency should be achieved by the child by continuous 3 years process. Okay, but if you see the learning outcome, it specifically says for one particular class, the child should differentiate solid and liquid just based on its physical property. So, learning outcome is a more granular form of competency. It is also observable. What you are assessing in your exams, what you are assessing in your classroom is learning outcome. What is guiding your lesson plan? That is learning outcome, which is a miniature granular version of competency. So when you say that when you are designing your lesson plans based on the learning outcome, you are eventually approaching towards attaining a particular competency. You are contributing towards that. But competency, you by transacting a lesson plan, a child need not achieve a competency. We are giving them 3 years for a middle stage or 4 years for the secondary stage. Now, did you figure out the difference between curricular goal? So, if you look at the learning standards, when you go back, take science education chapter. Within that, you have complete list of curricular goals, and curricular goals are further divided into competencies stage wise. Okay? So you can see that the verbs used in curricular goals are difficult to assess or measure, whereas competencies, the verb used in competencies can be assessed. They are more precise, they are more specific. Now you got the difference and need of goal and competency. Is that clear? All of you? Okay? Manisha, is the lunch ready? Okay. So we will break for lunch. We will come back and discuss more examples from biology and physics as well. Then we will give you better clarity. Okay? Thank you.